Hi you guys and welcome to my channel. I'm back with a new reaction video. Hope all of you are doing good this morning. So you guys requested me to check out how good was Jason Williams actually, and this is White Chocolate. You guys have told me that I need to check him out for a while now, so I'm finally doing it. So I'm starting off with this one just to see what other people have to say about him. Hopefully they show a little bit of glimpse here and there so I can get a I was gonna say get a taste of white chocolate. That was not funny. But I'm gonna check this one out. I'm gonna stop talking. Let's get straight into this video. Alrighty. White chocolate. Let's go.
He was one of the most exciting, unorthodox point guards to ever play the game. Everything from his creativity on the court to his style and demeanor off the court, Jason Williams always had a knack for the spectacular. In his 12 seasons in the NBA, he played for 4 different teams. He was the starting point guard for most of his career and showcased a skill set that was beyond interpretation. Not only that, but he was super memorable on every team he played for, even if his impact did not lead to many wins. There were times where his actions were quite polarizing and he didn't get the best support from NBA teams who didn't like his persona. How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today we're gonna take a look at Jason Williams, better known for his nickname White Chocolate. For most of us who watched him, we all knew he was very fun to watch, but how good was he actually? Which other point guards are good comparisons for him? Was he actually as good as how his highlights portrayed him? But before I start, I'd like
No. Shout out to Andy. I'm gonna have the link in the description to the original video, but we don't got time to this.
into the 1998 NBA draft, there were questions surrounding him. He did have a good couple of years at Marshall University and then at Florida, but towards the end of the school year, he got suspended for marijuana use, violating the school's anti-drug policy. It wasn't the first time either. However, even back in college, his style of play was drawing comparisons to former NBA legend Pete Maravich. Pistol Pete was well known for his flashy passes and handles, and Williams became recognized for the same thing. In a 1998 segment from the Associated Press, it stated, "The league said Williams, whose behind-the-back dribbles and no-look alley-oop passes have led to comparisons with the late Pete Maravich, had not complied with his treatment obligations under the league's program." That was the main issue that led to his shaky draft stock. NBA teams did not know what they were getting. They could have been getting the next legendary point guard or a complete wild card, who might flame out within a couple of years. It turns out it was more towards the latter. The Sacramento Kings held the 7th overall pick. With it, they drafted Jason Williams.
I was 4 years old.
It was the perfect time to join the Sacramento Kings. In 1998, they had a few major acquisitions. Jason himself, but also Chris Webber came over from the Washington Bullets. Peja Stojakovic, despite getting drafted in 1996, he finally came to America. Vlade Divac came over in free agency. It was the start of a brand new era. The Kings' future was looking bright, and this new core of players turned the entire franchise around. In his rookie season, J. Will averaged nearly 13 points a game, along with 6 assists, but on a putrid percentage. That was a weakness that he truly could not solve until he got older. But even then, it was still a weakness. Between his fancy passes and quirky handles, the guy could not shoot. While his steal numbers were quite high, he took a lot of risks defensively, and he was never disciplined on that end. Those were issues that plagued his time in Sacramento, and that's why Kings fans were frequently infuriated with him, constantly bricking jump shots or gambling for steals. It was maddening. With that being said, he became a popular icon, a very well-recognized player because he was so unique and played in a way that was much different than any other point guard. Players and reporters were coining nicknames for him. Stephanie Shepard, a media relations worker, called him White Chocolate, which immediately stuck. When Shepard was asked how the name came to mind, she stated, "I came up with that name because of his style. He has flash and pizzazz. The way he does things with the ball is incredible to me. It reminds me of
Definitely
like schoolyard street ball when I go
yeah.
to Chicago." Shaq even labeled him the Pete Maravich of hip-hop. In his 3 seasons with the Kings, they reached the playoffs every single time, but it wasn't really because of Williams. It was mainly due to all of those other additions I mentioned earlier. Webber became the de facto leader of the squad, and Peja developed into one of the best three-point shooters we've ever seen, and he became an all-star too. But for Williams, the Kings got better when his role decreased.
Iverson!
In the 2000 to 2001 season, they won 55 games, but his playing time dropped below 30 minutes per game, and his scoring, his assists, they were much lower than usual. Not only that, but he started to live up to his wild card persona. In the summer of 2000, Williams violated the NBA's anti-drug policy. A few months later, he was accused of shouting racist slurs at a couple of Asian Americans at a Warriors game. Later on, he was fined 15
Said Asians and gays.
grand for shouting expletives at fans in the crowd, which happened multiple times. Because of all this, combined with Williams not showing much improvement, the Kings felt like it was time to move on.
Gotta have control.
If they were tired of his antics, they were impatient with his unhinged playstyle, and it just wasn't a good fit for a team that's looking to contend right now. So in the 2001 offseason, the Kings traded Williams to the Memphis Grizzlies in exchange for a more stable, more reliable point guard, Mike Bibby.
Maybe.
With the Grizzlies, Williams started off strong, averaging career highs across the board, but most importantly, his three-point shot improved drastically. I mean, there's no way he could have gotten worse, so he could only go up from here.
Come on.
In the 2002-3 season, he shot 35% from 3, a significant jump compared to previous years. While the excitement was still there, the Memphis Grizzlies, as a team, struggled to get anywhere in the playoffs. In 04 and 05, they'd get swept in the first round. By this time, Jay Will was only 29 years old, but he was on the downswing of his career. It got to the point where he really wasn't interested in basketball anymore. This culminated during the 2005 playoffs, shortly after the Grizzlies got swept by the Suns.
That gotta be your life.
A newspaper columnist wrote about Williams' lackadaisical efforts and questioned him about his commitment to basketball. Williams responded with, "I'm happy. I go home and see my kids and my wife and I'm okay. All of this stuff is secondary to me."
I respect
He
it.
actually confronted the reporter the next day and took his pen to make sure he won't write anything negative about him again, although this was one of his better playoff series. Williams once again got fined, this time for 10 grand for his behavior around the reporters.
Oh, wow.
And then, in the summer of 2005, he got traded to the Miami Heat. The 2005-06 Heat were an interesting bunch, to say the least. There were a bunch of players who were on the tail ends of their careers, desperately wanting to win the title. Among them include Gary Payton and Alonzo Mourning. Antoine Walker, another former star long past his heyday. Plus an aging Shaq who was still pissed off that the Lakers preferred Kobe over him. Williams fit in quite nicely as he was another player well past his glory days. He slotted in as the starting point guard and had the best shooting season of his career. No longer was he doing all his fancy moves and all that jazz as often as before, which definitely helped the team. Williams became more steady and calculated, as opposed to seeking out the flashy play. This cast of misfits was led by a young D. Wade and eventually captured the 2006 championship. Williams was an integral piece of the roster and stayed there for the next few seasons too. In the midst of numerous injuries to basically everyone on the team, the Heat could not win back-to-back. Williams himself didn't escape the injury bug either, as he suffered a bunch of nagging injuries by 2008, culminating with knee surgery in 2010.
Always the knees.
By 2011, he officially announced his retirement. So exactly how good was Jay Will? Well, he was never a star or the best player on any of his teams, but he was indeed a very popular figure because of his risky yet gratifying playstyle. Pete Maravich is probably the best comparison when it comes to style, but Williams had nowhere near the same level of talent. While Pete was flashy, he was also effective. He was a top-tier scorer, while Jay came nowhere close. Jay Will had the swagger and the charisma of Allen Iverson, but not the skills. You could make the argument that he could have been better if he worked harder, if he was more motivated. Perhaps Williams' reputation was always meant to be a stylish, fun player to watch, a great innovative passer. He suffers from what I like to call the J.R. Smith effect. By this, I mean his highlight reels look freaking amazing, but it does make him seem a bit overrated. He only makes a great play every now and then. Most of the time, Williams isn't doing much. Throwing up bad shots or playing lazy defense, those are the reasons why Sacramento and Memphis gave up on him. His game is not consistent by any imagination. So when it comes to the all-time rankings, he really shouldn't belong on any list. But when it comes to point guards of his era, he was likely around the middle of the pack, perhaps even higher than that too. Still, he was nowhere near as good as Jason Kidd, or Steve Nash, or Chris Paul, or even Stephon Marbury, or Baron Davis, or Mike Bibby, who the Kings traded him for. In fact, Bibby was the guy that Kings fans hoped Jay Will could be. Anyway, that's all folks. That sums up the story of White Chocolate. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section.
Yes.
For those who watched him before, do you think he was overrated? Do you think the media and the highlights made him look better than how he actually was?
The thing is, I'm a little bit torn.
Thank you.
Zoom in on him. I'm torn in situations like this because obviously results and stats matters, but I will always be in my heart. It's like how you play. To me, that's why I love sports so much. Is yes, you need the scoring and the stats, but to me, it gotta look good. It gotta be, you need to have the charisma, the personality. That's why I love Iverson so much. And I could see, glimpse in this White Chocolate guy. The difference here, though, I would say, and that's why I wouldn't compare him with Iverson and other talented players, is that he didn't even have the passion, it seemed like. And I respect that when he said that he wants to be with his wife and kids. I totally respect that, but you gotta live this, and it could be an amazing result with those skill sets and talent to combine it. But yeah, I definitely feel like it was a huge part that he didn't even put his all into it. I think like he did what he could, but he didn't seem that motivated and determined to take it to a whole other level. Just by seeing this short clips, my opinion. And then also emotion, he let things get to him and stuff like that. That's a sign that you're not really that motivated or focused in the first place. But I don't know, I really like what I was seeing though. Beautiful passing and the boldness. I love it so much. That's why my favorite team is Barcelona in football or soccer, as you guys call it. And this has to do with it, even if it's totally different sports. It's the build-up, the passing as a collective. Like, it needs to look good to be good. It don't matter if you win. If you win in an ugly way, in a boring way, it's not fun. Like, but you also gotta win, though. It don't matter how beautiful it is if you don't even meet the results, But anyways, I will stop rambling. Hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, it was interesting. I will check out more like highlights just to see more highlights of him, I guess, because the thing I saw, I liked it. But anyways, bye you guys.